reveal, big picture, big insights with myself, Lee Houghton, and the uber talented Gary Nightingale, creative. We are absolutely delighted that you have chosen to join us today, either live or in the recording, because this piece of work that we've been collaborating on now has been um, it's been a passion project, but it's also been one that has driven lots of valuable conversation and insight that we cannot wait to share with you today. But
Yeah.
as I've just said, it's not me by myself. I am here with the uber talented Gary Nightingale. Gary, who are you? Do you want to introduce yourself and say hello?
Thanks, Lee. Yeah. What an intro. So, I'm Gary Nightingale Creative. I think a few of you watching this will know me, and thanks for supporting all my posts, as you do. Um, yeah. So I do illustration, um, mo- mostly illustration, some video for coaches, therapists, and been working with Lee for a few years now, isn't it? I think it was not long after we went into the big lockdown, which is coming up for its fifth anniversary. And we started working together. I started you doing your change work with teams and with organisations, and I started putting together, taking that information and putting it into visuals, and it's just grown from there, which we're going to talk about a lot more. So
We are indeed. We are indeed. Yeah, Get Knowledge and Gary Nightingale Creative have absolutely been working together for a good number of years now, haven't we?
yeah,
We resonated and we spotted your content online, started speaking, and then over the last few years, we have delivered some really amazing, valuable pieces of work to teams and to organisations that has been the input for the conversation
yeah,
that we're going to have today. And just before we go into this, I think I just want to frame maybe a challenge that organisations have is that every business and every organisation has a vision or as a mission. They've got a sentence that they write on a wall. And then they'll communicate it out through town hall meetings and different forms of communication, and they'll cross the fingers and hope that everybody in that organisation makes a meaningful contribution to achievement of that vision. But what we see a lot of the time is that the sentence means different things to different people in different ways.
that's
And
it. Yeah,
and what I think is a real um, um, golden thing with what we've created is a mechanism and a process to make it meaningful, make the organization's vision meaningful to them. And when we're going to talk about the big picture plan, and that's our, I guess, our product
yeah,
to helping organizations, teams, and businesses achieve their vision. And it starts with them already having their vision in terms of a sentence, understanding aspirationally where they want to try to get to. And then what we do then is engage with them and engage with the workforce and make it meaningful to them. And that requires us to ask some simple but powerful questions. And it's through asking those questions that we've gleaned this insight that Gary has turned into a beautiful image that really just pulls together. And we've said it's 5,000 voices, 10 UK organisations. It's a lot of noise. It's a lot of noise. And I think I just want to really say up top, right at the start of this, that you've been able to decipher 5,000 voices into a single image and a
yeah,
single picture. And it allows whoever picks it up to to navigate their own journey. And one other
and
thing as well, what we see in organisations is that they'll have various different strategies. They'll have a HR strategy, they'll have an IT strategy, they'll have an operations strategy to try to improve and help them get to their organisational vision. And what we're hoping that you'll see today, if you as you're watching this, is that by combining all of these things together, because that's your people experience all of these things together. By combining all of these things together, it provides a path and a journey to get to your destination, to achieving the goal of where you want to get to. I guess Gary, any thoughts right off the bat?
And I think when we started working together, I didn't know a whole lot about sort of like the whole change world and change management and what it all means. One of the things that attracted me to the way you work was that the sort of powerful simplicity of it at a top level, where it was what do people want to lose, what do they want to keep, and what do they want to have. Three definite stages, and it was so what do you want to leave behind? What's good about your working environment now that you want to take with you? And what do you aspire to? Where do you want to get to? And that's for leadership and for people in the organization. And the more over the last few years, the more I've learned about it, learning all the different change models that there are, and making my own kind of diagrams of them just so I understand them and understand what it is they're trying to get across. There's just so much. I don't know how much of it is necessary, but so complex and so dry, and so, I don't know, unapproachable. I found a lot of it, and I'm not stupid. I can get my head around all these things, but it's just like, how does this translate to actually, a bunch of people sitting in a canteen saying this is a really good idea. We're behind this, and so the more I learned about it, the more I wanted to see if I could find a way with what I do into that was going to try and kind of bridge the gap between these kind of very complex solutions, but in ways that actually work. And not that they don't work, but which leads on to another thing, that I know that there's this accepted figure of 70% of change initiatives that don't necessarily fail, but maybe sometimes disappoint. They don't achieve their intended outcomes, and I was really curious about that figure, and it's backed up by research that validates it. And I was just like, through my reading and learning and understanding, a lot of it seemed to be about what people call the people stuff, and about engaging and involving people like right from the start, and showing throughout a change process your engagement and involvement at the beginning is taken seriously and is needed as we go through this. So it's not like we've just sat in a room, worked out all this stuff, and now we're doing change to you, and if an increasing problem is a disengaged workforce, then that's just going to disengage people further. So I thought, well, between us, what we do is getting right down to how to just listening to people. It's just basic human things, listening to people, taking people seriously, treating people properly, and just, what issues you're having, where would you like to get to? And so you can't, and even if it's a heavy tech kind of change that's happening, it still has to have that foundation of like that real strong emotional buy-in, I think, and that's all the stuff that I find fascinating. I could talk about all day, and but I won't, because we haven't got all day. But so that's
we've
kind
not
of
got all
what came
day
off from
yet.
what you. Sorry?
Yeah, not amazing. I said we've not got all day yet, but we can do many more of these things, and we can talk about this, because what I think has been amazing about working with you is how you have taken the world of leadership and change management, and it feels like it's become a bit of a passion of yours as well, and we felt that with our engagements with you, is it's not just a job, but you're understanding the reason why what we do is important. And I think if I just talk about what you've spoken about, and what I've heard from when you're talking there as well, is there's a lot of change people, a lot of leaders who utilize various different tools and methodologies, and they make those tools and methodologies the star of the show, and it's all about the tool or the methodology. What we are encouraging here is making the people the star of the story, and what your picture that we'll share in a second, and how we engage, is all about engaging the heads, the hearts, the hands of people, making them the star of the show, because it's them that's going to go through their own personal, individual journey, emotional journey, physical journey, transition from where they are to where they're trying to get to.
Can I just make a point on that? Is that having done, just step back a little bit, just for people who don't know, a team will have discussions, loads of discussions about what their issues are now and where they want to be. That results in a great big mass of information, post-it notes and documents and bits of clip art and all kinds of stuff to try and explain where they are. I take all that, turn it into one image. So there you go, that's a snapshot of what my job is. And I've done so many of these, and this is partly how this came about. These common themes kept recurring, and I started to be aware of them, and between us, Lee did a lot of work in categorizing them, which he's going to talk about in a moment. And one of the common themes, I would say without exception, that people said that they wanted to keep and that they wanted to take with them was their immediate team morale, their team bond. The people that they work with day in, day out, the people that they have lunch with, the people that they have coffee with in the morning, those bonds were really strong. There was really high level of trust, of having each other's backs, and that included immediate line managers. And so, and I think that is such a valuable asset for organizations, because another issue was the perception that very senior leadership can't really see them and can't really hear them. And we have, from the senior leadership's perspective, we have reasons why that is and what their challenges are, which you're going to talk about. So that's about making the people the star of the show, because they are. And for those people then to see that this initiative that they're involved in has listened to them and has involved them and has treated them with respect and listening and understanding, those things, they tip the balance between whether an overall change initiative works or not. 3 years down the line, these changes that they put in, are they still there?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's why I think that there's such a strong focus on the people, because it's those bonds that are really powerful and need to be celebrated and expressed.
Yeah, really, really important point. So I think it's just 2 points based on what you said there. Number one is it's not all broken. People do
No,
like
exactly.
some stuff, and what we don't do enough is recognise the stuff that's already working that people like, and through this process and through the imagery, we're capturing a lot of the positives as well. And then the second thing is just on all change and all businesses are all, and us as humans as well. It's all about where do we want to be, or where are we now? Where do we want to be, and how are we going to get there? And through this process, we gain clarity and understanding together of where we are today. Where are we starting from? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? How and from everybody's perspective. And then, oh, go on, Gary.
I was just going to say, and the important bit is understanding what everyone's unique perception is of where they are now
Yes.
and where they want to be. It's not
Yes.
assumed. There's not a general one-size-fits-all assumption of where we are now, because different people have different ideas of what that is. And it's if everyone's heard, then that from then you can arrive at a consensus of, we have now all agreed this is where we are.
Absolutely. And this is about bringing those stars of the show, the people on this journey with us from where we are to where we want to be, and picking up along the way all of the things that either we need to have or that we want to double down on because they are working. And this, everything that we're talking about today is available for download. So there's an insights document and the image that Gary will share. Very simply, I'll share a QR code at the end, but it's bit.ly, big picture, big insights, with a capital B, a capital P, a capital B, and a capital I. And that takes you to the site where you can download everything we're talking about today. It is for free. And it is the image and it is the insights document, the combination of these 5,000 voices, 10 organizations.
That's everything that we're talking about. That's how it's all been distilled into those two things, the insights report and the image. Just one other thing I just wanted to mention that I didn't before was that when people have got all that information that they then give to me and say, turn this into an image, there's always an agreed on theme, a kind of scenescape of what it'll be. So that could be, we want it to be like a rail journey, we want it to be a journey across the sea, we want it to be a river, it can be a combination of them. I've done a couple of spacey ones, you know. So there's some mode of transport or travel that becomes the theme, the metaphor. There are others that aren't necessarily that. There's been a circus, there are a couple of cinemas, an old rundown thing and a brand new complex. So it's there's always a chosen metaphor that everything sits within. So then I can get stuck into all the detail because the underlying structure has been worked out.
Yes. Yeah, and I think the value of using a metaphor is that everybody can resonate and relate to it, but it depersonalizes it from or Bob just needs to do this through actually
Yeah,
we understand and we all resonate with where we are, where we want to get to, and how we are going to get there. So every single big picture that is created um, documents this transition, but from a place of complete alignment, or as close to complete alignment as you can get. And if you already have a sentence of where you want to get to, this big picture plan allows you to visualize from everybody's perspective where we are and where we're trying to get to and how we are going to get there. So it makes your vision, your goal, your mission far more achievable and palatable for everybody, irrelevant of their role as well. And that's why we're so engaged in this process, because we see the value in it, and we also see how people respond and react to this type of activity, rather than it just be a sentence on a wall.
yeah, and also, although it's anonymous in that you look at a finished image and you can't see that is that person, that is that person, people can still see what they've said, what their thoughts were, what their reflections were. So you might have, if it's a river image, there might be a boat with something written on the side of the boat, and it might be something that represents, I don't know, poor communication with this particular team, as an example. So although the image doesn't show this is that person said that, the person who did say that is going to see it and say, okay, well, they heard that. I've been
Yes.
seen, you know, and that's the idea, is that this is a sort of weaving together of everyone's input, because nothing in the image comes directly from me. I don't think of the idea from scratch. It's all inspired by what people have said, and that's why, you know, we collated all the input from all the stuff that we've done together, and we just mashed it all together, made these categories, made this image, and it's, you know, everything that you can download that Lee's just been talking about has all come from people in real organisations going through real changes. You know, it's not theoretical, really.
It's not, it's real. And it's making the people the star
Yeah,
of the show, which I think is so important. One of our core beliefs, or one of our core principles, is that people protect what they build. And what's really important, and just to really double down on Gary's point there, is that this image and the big picture has been created by the input of everybody. So people are invested in it. So people, they will protect it. They understand why certain things are in certain ways. They understand the scenescape, the backdrop. They understand the journey and the metaphor that is created. They are invested in the journey. And that's what makes this process really, really powerful.
can I just make one more point just before we move
Yeah,
on?
of course
Is
I can.
that no, we both had testimonials from people about about the lasting impact. I think that's an important point to make as well. Is that when people, I've had feedback from people for stuff that I did for them, like up to a year before, you know, and they talk about the lasting impact of it, how it becomes a kind of working document for them. It's something that they constantly refer to, because, you know, we're there when people are early on in making these changes. What does it look like in 6 months, 12 months? And I think there's a you know, it's a often used word at the moment, sustainability, but in its wider sense, sustainability around people. I think that there's something to be said with this about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Absolutely. These stand, I think it was on one of our later ones, or one of our later collaborations. I remember there was a guy in the room and he said the measure of it is that it has to stand the test of time.
Yeah.
It has to stand the test of time. And that is exactly what we're trying to create here. That's something that people will like plot their route, but then all it's like I'm going to age myself now, but there used to be a program. Might be before your time, Gary Nightingale. It might, Treasure Hunt with Annika Rice on it, and
It's recent.
she was used, yeah, yeah, used to be in a helicopter, and across a map, and it was like, and you could track exactly where she was and stuff, and that's exactly what we want, and how we want
Yeah.
everybody to understand how far they've come, what they've still got to do, but doing it together, um, Gary, I'm conscious of the time. We spoke a lot about the
Yes.
stuff. Pete Dunn in the comments has said, are we going to get a sneak peek of the picture? Yes, we are going to have a sneak peek of the picture very, very soon. um, and I think, in fact, actually, would you like to just show it from a zoomed out perspective?
I'll do that now, yeah. And then you're going to talk through some of the themes that we've arrived at, and I'm going to zoom and focus in on the image for the relevant parts for the theme that you're talking about to see how they tie in.
Perfect.
Right, let me just share then.
Yeah, amazing. We could do with some drums here, couldn't we? Like for the grand reveal.
Why is that not working? Do you need to enable it?
No, no, it should be there. Should be there. Should be there. Oh,
Browser needs screen sharing permission. I'm getting.
I tell you
I've got
what.
a
Let's
question. What should I do?
don't you worry. Don't you worry about that. Don't you worry about that. I'll
I've
put
got
some
it.
buttons
I've got
over
it.
on the. You got it.
I've got it.
Oh, there you go. You have got it.
How's that looking?
Yeah, it's the big picture. It is zoomed out, but and exactly like I said, it starts on the left hand side with where we are today, and on the right hand side is where we want to be. And in the middle, when we shared this for the very first time, we got a comment about the wilderness being in the middle, and it was so vast and it was so big. But that it just documents reality, doesn't it? So there is no true defined path to getting to wherever it is that we're trying to get to. It's
No,
about an organic journey for different people, but it's about working through it in the right direction, and it's got to be directional. Um,
that's right. And I want we when we talked about it, we wanted to show that it takes courage to start because there are no signposts apart from change this way, which doesn't tell you a lot. But the path gradually becomes clearer as you go on. And so when we talked about doing this, we came up with the idea of let's have this kind of chaotic Victorian style circus on the left, with all this stuff going on. Then the wilderness, and then this really modern kind of high tech village that they're all aiming for, where everything's working seamlessly and everyone's getting on all right.
Yeah, I think just on that point as well, in terms of where we wanted to be, because we wanted it to feel more community-like as well, and so that's why it's all together, and everybody's working together because in the right-hand side, it's about bringing everybody together to do the right things. When we go through this process as well, because we engage so many people, typically there's a bit of maybe a lack of leadership input, not from a from a I guess from a numbers perspective, because in an organization there are fewer leaders than there are people working the valuable work and the processes, and so naturally we get more voices from the bottom, which is part of this process because we want to this is the mirror that we can hold back to go, this is the environment that you are creating. But what we've done uniquely on this image as well is we've also encapsulated a view from the top because we're in a privileged position that we work with a lot of teams and a lot of leaders. And we get to see and hear their challenges that prevent or create some of the environment that they're in. And I guess if that's where if that's where I can just start, Gary, in terms of the view from the top and the leadership silos,
Yeah,
that would be
sure.
really useful because um, although one of the 6 critical themes that we've identified is leadership and strategy, what we have found is that leaders face specific challenges themselves. So throughout our engagements, 3 recurring challenges consistently emerge. Number 1, a lot of leaders find themselves firefighting daily operational issues instead of leading strategically. So they're getting stuck in the day-to-day rather than being able to see into the future. And again, on the image, there's the smoke that's coming out of the fire, but that's preventing the leaders from seeing. And some of the things that are getting in the way of the leaders seeing might be the economy, might be governance, might be time pressure, customer demands, but these are all things that are clouding the view of the leaders. So we wanted to get that across as well. Another one is a leadership team that operates in silos. One of our main conversations that we have with leadership teams is, do you need to be a team? Do you want to be a team? Or are you happy continuing in the silo structure that you've got? And typically what you'll find in an organization is if the senior team works within silos, and that manifests itself all the way through the organization, that everybody else then works in silos. So we wanted to articulate the silos, and Gary has beautifully done this with the leaderships, and each of them being different silos. And then the third challenge being a disengaged workforce, and that's what's articulated in the circus and the funfair below. So we've got here the view from the top, the view from the leaders. They're getting off the ladders, or they can't see strategically. Nobody goes to work to do a bad job, but we just don't necessarily always help them do and be the most effective that they can be. And that is also from a leadership perspective as well. Leaders do not want you to think of them in the way that you may be thinking about them. And I guess what we've got to try to understand is, what is everybody's role in this, and how can we bring everybody together to walk a few steps in everybody's shoes and get a real clarity of understanding of everybody as well. So I guess, Gary, in terms of the view from the top and the leadership challenges, any little bits that you want to call out here? Any favourite parts for you? Any bits that make you smile?
Just that when I say a lot, I have an idea of where I'm going when I start, and ideas always come to me as I'm doing it. So initially we had the idea that there would just be this big cloud around the hot air balloons, which was stopping them from seeing ahead. But then separately, and I hadn't put them together, there was this going on at the bottom, this literal firefighting, which obviously represents, maybe not obvious, but a kind of reactive action. Things are happening and they need to be dealt with now, and which is often down to a shortcoming in systems. And so that was when it just became obvious to have the smoke coming from the firefighting, make it a lot bigger, and that's what's obscuring the view. So then it connects the reactive stuff on the ground with the aspiration towards thinking long term and strategically, but that's hindered. So that was a way of showing the challenges that leadership is facing. We want to see ahead and we want to do all this stuff, but all this keeps pulling us back down.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And what I love a lot is just the depth of the work that you've put in here to stitch all of this together. There's a lot of different either metaphors or things that people can resonate and relate to, dependent upon their own individual situation. And so, like I said, that when people talk about leadership, it's often from a negative perspective. But what we've got to recognise is that actually leaders, they don't want to be perceived in the ways that often that they are, and they've also got challenges. So we want to bring together and make everybody aware of those things as well. So anything else on the view from the top and the leadership silos from your perspective, Gary?
There was just one little thing, but I think you touched on someone. This is the idea around the idea of delegation, and it's about, if you want something doing, you've got to do it myself. So just a small thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. So that
Right, where are we going
the
next?
yeah, so we're going to go in order that it's in the insights document. I think one thing that's really important to call out is that the order that's in the insights document, there's no rhyme or reason. It's not ordered in importance. They are
No.
all equally balanced. So the first one is systems and processes. So when we talk about systems and processes, this refers to maybe the workflows or the structures that underpin the operational activity that enable employees to perform their roles effectively. And, and I guess actually here, because this for me is one of the strongest images in the diagram. Um, there's a lot in this, Gary. What are you articulating and showing in this image? So for one part of it's on fire, the other part's not on
Yeah,
fire.
there's
Pe-
well the tightrope workers. That was a reference to one of the common issues that happened around systems and processes was duplication of effort, duplication of data. So that's why you've got one tightrope walker wanting to know why there's another one there.
yeah,
This is wasted energy, wasted resources, which, and another thing with all these themes is they're not in isolation, they all link into each other because that's also about clear communication. So without clear communication and within a system that isn't working, that results in a lot of this sort of duplication of effort. You've got the gymnasts at the bottom that are trying to build something, but they keep falling over because it's unstable. All that stuff around them, the poles, is literal red tape. So this is all the stuff that, lengthy processes, laborious processes. That's something that came out a lot in some of the visions that we did, was the amount of paperwork it takes just to get simple stuff done, and the amount of authorization levels as well. And so you've got the main pole is broken, part of it's fallen down on the ground, and someone doesn't even know what it's for, why it's there. It's actually quite an important bit, but that is not coming across. And you've got, the trapeze artists that are meant to be in this sort of artistic flowing thing where they grab hold of each other. They can't reach each other, they can't hear each other. So it's all just, I just wanted to create chaos here, really.
yeah. But you wanted to, and you have, like, articulated a perfect metaphor for what people have told us, or how people have told us it feels, and some of the challenges that they face. And I think the real value of this conversation for me, Gary, is going through each of these different tents or areas and understanding actually like that that the red tape around it is part of the image. It's everything that you've put on here is here for a reason. And I think
and
that's something that's really important to speak about.
and when these are done for specific, because this is a general definitive one that encapsulates everything. When we've done specific images for a particular team, they're always able to look and see, well, we know what that image represents because we know we live with the problem that represents. Or on the other side, we know exactly what we want to achieve, and that's what this represents. So whether that could be more career progression, better communication, whether it could be better IT, people can see what's there and they can relate to it because it was their input.
Absolutely, and I think that's really important to call out here. It's their input, and they'll be able to be they're familiar with it, so they'll be able to narrate their own journey and story
And
from
they
where
do,
they are
yeah.
to where they want to get to, and I think that's part of the beautiful part of this
And
process. So
and
that system.
yeah, and they
Oh, go on,
do.
sorry, go on.
There was one organisation that sent me a video of their presentation day when they had them all on the wall, and they were talking about their progress, referring to the images and talking through them. So that was really good to see it kind of out there in the wild doing what it's meant to do.
Yeah.
Seeing it in action, and people do narrate through them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We had an example not so long ago where two of the people that were inputting were facilitated 150 people through
Yeah, one
through
of them
that
had it as
webinar.
his Zoom background, which was quite nice.
Yeah, dead right, dead right. Because people protect what they build, they're invested in it, and this is typically where a lot of organisations fall foul of creating a vision or a mission that doesn't mean anything to anybody. We want this to
Yeah,
create meaning for people so that they understand what their contribution is to getting to the destination of where they want to get to. So that's systems and processes. Take us to people and teams, G.
right, we're on our way. Come with me down to this tent.
So
And
people and teams is, I
just
guess
as
the
an,
focus is on. Oh, so go on.
I was just going to say it's kind of an aside, but as part of doing this to make it look authentically Victorian, I downloaded some Victorian circus fonts to use all over it, so to give it that old-fashioned look.
The level of detail that you go to, though, G. But
Not a
again, I
priority
think
to talk about, but there you go.
yeah, but I think that just shows and shares the level of depth that you go to creating these. So to make it authentic as well. So people and teams focuses on the dynamics within and between teams, including communication, the collaboration. So how do the people work together? How do they talk together and fostering a supportive and inclusive um, culture? Which this does not articulate a inclusive culture, does it? So, do you want to again talk us through the tenets, G, from your perspective?
Um, there are a few things here. The one about the support, the strong man is actually not looking very strong. He can kind of like he might drop it any second, and just not having his workload appreciated and just being told just keep it up, keep working harder. The there was something that was inputted a lot was about new starters not getting the support that they need. People just being kind of thrown in at the deep end and just expected to swim. Um, there was a lack of understanding of the pressures that other people might be under, and this is like outside of teams. I don't. It's not a contradiction to saying that there are really strong team bonds, because there are. It's talking about. There was often a feeling, and this goes back to that siloed sort of. If it's siloed at the top, that cascades down. So teams can have different perceptions of other teams, and there can be that kind of they've got it better than us, and then the others are thinking the same thing about them. That's actually happened. So someone showing that they're under a lot of pressure, trying to juggle a lot of balls, and instead of being supported with it, they're just told they're doing it wrong. And
Yes.
and someone up on the tent is basically just. This was just about not being recognised, not being appreciated, and there was also because one of the images that I've done was specifically around a DEI team, and there were which that one had to be handled pretty sensitively, because there were there was stereotyping, which is partly what this is about. Box ticking, and there was stuff. There was a perception that it wasn't being taken seriously and embedded into organisations. So there's elements of that there as well.
Yeah, so and I think one thing is important to just call out here is that not every team will have all of these issues and challenges. Not every team will, and every
No,
person on every team will feel these things as well. But what we have done here is we have collated the voices of 5,000. We've identified the common traits and trends and
that's it. That's what it
things
is. Yeah.
that people have said, how people have they've felt, and the things that they've done to create this image. So if you don't resonate with a single image, it doesn't mean you don't resonate with, or somebody sat next to you doesn't resonate with it. This is about making the person and people the star of this, and it gives you a mechanism and a vehicle to ask the questions. Have you ever felt like this? Have you? Is it? Have you ever been in a team where you've been asked to hold up a weight or like a workload, and without support, it gives you. And I think this is why I love this process, is because it creates conversation. It
Yeah,
creates conversation, and when we talk about successful change and successful leadership, it is built upon human relationships, and we've got 4 C's: connect, converse, collaborate, and celebrate. You have to connect with people first. This is a vehicle for connection, because then it allows you to have meaningful conversations about the things that matter and then work together. So that's people and teams. G, on what I'm going to just say here now is four. Oh, there you go. There's four. There's a 4 C's
yeah,
on the on the wagon wheels, on the
yeah.
cart's wheels. Amazing, because they are the thing that will help you get to the other side. Can you take us to leadership and strategy, please?
Leadership strategy.
Yeah, leadership
And
and
here we have
strategy.
a lion
So what
tamer.
I'm
I don't know if
perfect.
they even do these anymore, but there you go.
Yeah, thank you very much. What I'm going to propose, G, is that we talk around the circus and the fun fair this week, and then we, as soon as we've gone through the 6 themes, and then if you're agreeable and available, at the same time next week on the same channel, we'll come back and we'll talk about the wilderness, and the right hand side,
I
the
think
destination of where we want to get to. Does that work for you?
I think that's a really good idea, because I think we've underestimated how much there is to talk about here. Because I think
Yeah,
when we started doing this, we knew what a challenge it was going to be. It was just like, are we going to be able to make something that's simple to understand and coherent out of all this information and put it all in one place? And which, though I say so myself, I think we've done that. And but I think it's a valid point that you say that not it's the idea isn't that everyone will resonate with everything, but there will be something there for everyone. I think that's the
yeah, I love that.
distinction.
Yes, yeah, love that. It's a conversation start. It gives you that basis to understand truly from the other person's perspective. Have they ever felt this way or not? Or what's prevented people from feeling that way? Or what's created the feeling within? It's a conversation starter. So leadership and strategy examines the role of leadership in providing direction, alignment, and support to ensure organizational goals are met. And I think on this image, I think there's 2 things. There's this bit here, and then there's the circus, the circus ringmaster person that's in the centre as well, isn't there? Um, that and like we're in the middle of a fun fair. We're in the middle of this circus, this chaotic environment, and the leader in the centre saying, "Looks like I've got everything under control here." And
Mm.
that's the perception of people in certain
Yeah.
environments that's what it's creating. So again, like we've done for others, anything you want to chat through or talk about, AG?
Um, let me just bring it down a little bit. Yeah, just well, one thing, you got the line over on the left, and this was a lot of the feedback that we had from people was not being informed of changes, which kind of gets to the heart of what we're talking about here. It was not being kept up to speed when things have changed, when requirements have changed, when even job roles, so that's why it's saying, so we're not over here anymore, but the line's just sitting there waiting. And there was a lot of talking about micromanagement, that old command and control thing. So I've done quite a bit of work with people in the construction industry, which is notorious for its command and control culture, which there are a lot of people out there who are working very hard to try and change. And it is going in the right direction, but this is all about just, it is that command and control. Do well, you get a bonus. If you don't do well, you're in trouble. And with a kind of a lack of kind of a coaching environment, a supportive environment, a training needs environment, a psychological safety, that having the space to try something new with good intentions, and if it not being seen as a failure, but just seen as this was the first step in learning. So it's all that stuff. And there was also an issue with unnecessary escalations. You know, it's with teams being not, people in teams not being trusted to resolve problems themselves when they happen, which I think goes back to that strong team bonds thing. You know, it's like these people get on well. If there's an issue, you don't need to just run out and escalate it. You can just you can work it out, you know. And then there's a bit of a reference just for anyone who wants to notice it, just about F.W. Taylor, who was big into creating, credited as being one of the first management consultants in the early part of the 20th century, so over 100 years ago, created scientific management, which we're trying to flush out of our systems.
Perfect. Thank you very much, G. So yeah, so that's leadership and strategy. So if we just move on to number 4, culture and morale, please.
This is a merry-go-round.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Again, another metaphor. Because like the C word, the culture word, is often used, and but like how often is it effectively changed in a meaningful way that people feel and positive, that actually delivers results as well. So culture and morale encompasses the attitudes, the values, and the overall spirit within the organisation. It influences motivation, engagement, and adaptability. So I think there's two things for this. I think there's the merry-go-round, and then there's the roots underneath it as well, isn't there? And I think so.
There is, yeah. I'll go to that in a moment.
Yeah, perfect. So do you want to talk about the merry-go-round?
Just the idea of the merry-go-round is kind of a known metaphor for just things that need to end, just not ending, just going round and round in circles. And the common thing that people talked about was again, it's around support and lack of training, lack of recognition. You know, it's too heavy and it just goes on and on and on. Here we go again, kind of self-explanatory. And I want to get off. That's kind of a reference to people leaving. You know, there's one of the things that I've been reading about and seeing is that a lot of change initiatives actually drive people to just say, well, I'm going somewhere else, you know, and which is the exact opposite of what you want to achieve. And so it's just, you know, I want to go.
Yeah, when I see the here we go again, when I work with organisations, there's always remnant of there's always artifacts of previous change initiatives, and so people they struggle to see or understand how what we do at times is different, and it's just the same thing with a different badge, and so it feels like their initial experience is one of oh, here we go again. We've tried all this before. So you get the instant resistance built upon their experiences of the past. I always remember when I got my first job in change, and I went out to celebrate with my best mate on a Wednesday night, and he said to me, he said, oh, you're not one of them, are you? So what do you mean one of them? He says, one of them who go into where people work and tell them how to do their job better. Come into where I work and tell me how to do my job better. I'll tell you to go away, or words to that effect, on a Wednesday night in a pub in Leyland. But the reason why he felt like that is because his experience of change was a negative one, and so a lot of organisations they pick the same consultants, or they want the same initiatives, or they want the same activities all of the time. What we are talking about here is not doing it again, but doing it better, with a difference that makes the people the star of the show. And I think that's what's really important. And I think it's the next image that you go to that really articulates why it's different.
That's it. And you know, there are a lot of people talk about that negative perception of it. And so anyway, I'll go to you want to move. So yeah, we had this idea that of making, because everything that happens up here is informed by what is in the roots. So hopefully you can read that in the roots. Can you see that?
Yep, I can.
Toxic.
Yep.
toxic attitudes and behaviors. So, and we made some sinkholes as well to generate the idea of urgency. You know that you can stay here, but it's not going to get any better. And the idea that if I come here, you've got someone actually falling in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think here, G, as well. I like what because we're talking about it where it's on the culture and morale part. So our definition of culture is the sum of all of the habits, behaviors, and routines that exist within. And 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 if you want to change a culture, you've got to change the habits, the behaviors, the routines that then will change the
And
attitudes uh, of
yeah,
and it'll change the thinking of everybody within. It is possible, but what your activities have got to change the thinking of people. And you change the thinking of people by involving the people and challenging their thoughts, engaging the heads, engaging the hearts, engaging the hands. And and this is how it all starts. And this big picture plan is the start of that. Of
I'd like
your journey from where you are to where you're trying to get to. Sorry, G, go on.
I was just going to say, I'd like to, I know we're not looking at it now, but if I can just take a second just to go to the other side and look at this one's counterpart, the positive counterpart to this one.
Yeah, go for it.
So in the new state, it's underpinned with a foundation of roots that are made up of healthy attitudes and behaviors. So
Yeah,
that's the link between.
absolutely. And in this image, it's articulating the physical stuff, it's articulating the feeling stuff, it's articulating the thought stuff as well in people. It's got the bit of in the sky, which is the leadership stuff looking down. It's got the stuff on the ground, and it's got the stuff underneath the ground as well. The depth of the image to articulate what we're trying to get across. There is a lot in this, which is why I think it's really valuable, this conversation we're having.
Yeah,
I'm just conscious of the time. We've got a couple of
yeah.
minutes on the last two each, and then we'll
Okay,
wrap up today. So the next one is communication and collaboration. So communication and collaboration, it covers the systems and practices for information sharing, ensuring clarity and cohesion across all levels of the organization. Communication is often the thing that's lacking a lot of. So anyway, G, what do you see when you look inside this tent?
okay, right. Just very briefly, because I know we're stuck for time, but yeah, there's the not just a lack of communication, but something that came out was confusing communication, not clear or direct communication. So, and I thought a Victorian circus, one of the tents has got to be clowns, and so the someone getting water chucked over them, which was a reference to collaboration, which this isn't, and there was again you've got the clowns holding up the pole, so just a kind of a few key people who are trying to hold everything together. There was also quite a lot about the I suppose it was difficult relationships with third parties, or not good systems in place for dealing with third parties, where the people wanted that to become more collaborative. So you've got someone here in a clown car that's got smoke coming out of it, and the third party person is sitting to the side, where this isn't going to happen anytime soon. So this ties in as well with how they all link. Like this is a system and a process as well as a communication and collaboration problem. So yeah, that's that.
Love it, love it. And I think exactly as you just touched on that, everything here, the reason why it's all in the same image is because it all does affect each other. And a lot of organizations, they try to have a communication strategy or they'll have a system strategy. We need to combine all of these because your people, experiences them all together. So you need to look at it holistically to understand the I guess the connections between each of the different parts and how they are affecting
Yeah,
positively and negatively the people that come to work every single day.
and And I think that really came out with, just to let people know, I had a whole load of feedback and stuff, gave it to Lee, and it was Lee who actually created the document and put it all into those different themes, and sort of bullet pointed them, so that it was, the process was kind of the raw data, Lee with the themes, and then me with the image based on the themes, and that was kind of the progression of the way it went. So that was how I was able to sort of take each theme and give it a specific image.
It's been a proper collaborative process,
Yeah,
hasn't it? So if we just talk about the final and the sixth theme for today, which is work environment and resources.
there you go.
So
Bring on the
this,
dancing horses.
yeah, so this looks at the physical and the mental health aspects of the workplace, including the tools, facilities, and support systems that contribute to employee well-being. So, G, what do you
I
see?
just wanted to see something similar to the merry-go-round, that a lot of people felt that things were just on a kind of negative repeat. You've got this is meant to look kind of sort of graceful and balanced, but people are falling off or struggling, and so and a lot of a lot of things within the work environment that the people felt should be automated. So I've got a reference to that as well. There was a reference to remote work and how, although that's become an integral part of working life and is here to stay, it's about the way it was handled and the way people's well-being was handled as well. That obviously without those kind of workplace, office-based interactions, people's mental health was struggling. So it's a reference to that as well. That's why you've got the mental health support sign that's just fallen off and no one's doing anything about it, and it's got a rat next to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, it's often a strategy that's tracked by itself. What we're encouraging here is that all of these things that we've gone through over the last hour are all connected. They all play a part in how everybody turns up, shows up, and contributes every single day. And if you want to truly understand how your people turn up, show up, feel, what they would love to lose, keep, and have to help you get to a achievement of your vision, then absolutely just get in touch and we can have a conversation about that. But I would encourage you as a minimum to please download the. In fact, G, can I just share my screen, please, sir?
I'll stop sharing.
Yeah,
There you go.
perfect. Thank you. So as a minimum, I would love you to just get the insights that we've gone through today. That
Yeah.
you will get access to the insight document, and you will get the image that we've gone through today as well, just by scanning that QR code there. It is for free. All of these insights, the 5,000 people, the 10 organisations, it's all captured here for you to learn and understand more about. Any final thoughts, words, G, for today?
And just, I really would love it if people came to the next two to hear about the wilderness and the modern village up in the top right. We've covered a lot of the grim stuff. Now it's getting brighter.
Yeah, love that. Love that.
Yeah,
Absolutely is.
yeah.
Absolutely is. And I think it's not all bad. And that's what we want to
No,
really talk about, because there's a lot of positive stuff. And next week, next
so much.
Friday, 12 o'clock, we'll talk about a lot of the positive stuff. Um, so yeah, so just thank you very much for joining us on this journey
Thank you.
today.
Yeah, this has been
The
brilliant.
next conversation will be about the wilderness, but it will be about the positive things as well. But if you do want to get a copy of the big picture, big insights, it is for free. All you got to do is scan that QR code. And yeah, just thank you for your time today. And G, I just want to say, and I know I've said it, but just thank you for everything that you've put into this. It's
You too.
such a powerful document, and it will help so many people. Like I said, the biggest value of what we've created is it's a conversation starter.
Yeah,
It will hopefully start many conversations for people truly understanding what it's like in the environments that they are currently working. And I think that for me is really powerful. We need to create more conversations, and what you've done, and combined with the insights document, creates those conversations. So thank you very much.
Thank you too, Lee.
I'll see you next week, G.
Yep.
There we go. How was that for you?
Right, so we've stopped recording now.
Yes, we're
Yeah?
still recording now, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Keep this tab open. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, just
I really
keep that
enjoyed
open
that. I thought it went really well.
There was a lot in it, wasn't there?